Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, Cooking for the Family. I'm Dyvonne and today we're going to try the Dolly Parton Buttermilk biscuits that they have from Duncan Hines. I have been seeing these off and on in the store and I really want to give them a try. And so I'm also going to be making my cinnamon butter to go along with them. It is first thing in the morning. We're going to whip up these biscuits. I'm going to see how they bake up, how they compare to scratch baking. So this is the box right here and it's actually 16 ounces and they have the directions on the side of the box here. And then you're supposed to be able to get 14 biscuits out of here. Now also on the back of the box has some directions if you want to do a cheddar and chive biscuits as well. And so this looks really interesting. The box was on sale at my local store and you got 2 boxes for $5. So basically $2.50 a box. So I'm following the directions and I'm first going to start off with just putting the dry mix into the bowl. Now to the dry mix, what you're going to do is you're going to be adding some butter. Now you're supposed to be we're adding cold butter, and I always use cold butter anyway when I'm making my biscuits. And also we're going to be using some milk. So with the butter, it calls for 10 tablespoons of cold butter. And it didn't specify salted or unsalted butter, so I'm just going to go with unsalted butter. Now, if you are new to my channel, welcome in. And if you're a returner, thank you, and I welcome you back in as well. My name is Dyvonne, and on my channel, I love to share what I cook and bake for my family in my kitchen. I've learned a lot over the years from the matriarchs in my family that were excellent cooks and bakers. And so it is my pleasure to share my love of cooking and baking with all of y'all. Now, once I've broken my butter down into about dime-sized pieces, I'm going to continue to break them down into more of pea-sized pieces and smaller. And how I do that is the same way that I would if I were making my biscuits from scratch. And that is I just put my butter in and I use my fingers. And you see how I'm pressing? I'm pressing and mixing that butter into the dry ingredients. And there are different ways to do this. You can use a pastry cutter to break down your butter into the dry ingredients. You can also use a food processor if you like to do that. You could use a couple of forks or some butter knives and go back and forth in a crisscross motion. But I'm doing it the way that I was shown and taught to do it, and that's just with my fingers and my hands, working quickly to just break that down just like it was. And so next the directions tell us to put a little well into our dry ingredients, and then we're using 1 cup of milk. It didn't specify whole milk or 2% milk or low-fat milk. I'm using 2% milk. And so once we put the milk into the well, you're going to go from the bottom to the top, and this is what the directions tell us to do. And this is something that I would usually do, is go from the bottom to the top when mixing dry ingredients and folding them and blending them into the wet. So the wet ingredients, whether to fold and blend them into the dry ingredients, just like that, from the bottom to the top. We're going to start making a nice dough, and when the dough starts to pull away from our sides of our bowl and we don't have any more dry streaks is when we want to turn out our dough onto our countertop. Now you can make the biscuits 2 different ways. There's 2 different ways to make the biscuits based on the directions. One way is to make drop biscuits, and that's when you would scoop about 1/3 of the dough onto a cookie sheet, onto a spray cookie sheet with some nonstick spray. Or you can roll your biscuits out and then cut them out. And that's the way that I'm going to be doing them this morning. I'm going to roll them out and cut them out. And this dough is nice and sticky. And I was taught that nice sticky dough make great biscuits. So far, this is already a good plus. I'm just going to use a little bit of flour, just maybe 1 or 2 tablespoons. I'm not going to really knead the dough too much because it says not to overwork the dough, and so I want to be mindful of that, but I just kind of want to smooth it out just a little bit. So I just did a quick really delicate kneading for about 30 seconds and made a nice thick ball. Then I'm going to roll out the dough as per the directions, and so we're going to roll out the dough to a nice round circle, or if you want to make it into a square, you can do that as well. And so once I have my dough rolled out, then it says to fold it like an envelope. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it. So I folded it and then I folded it again. And that's what it says to do. So I went on and did the triple fold. Then I went on, I'm going to roll, and then I'm going to do this again and repeat this process. So this is going to help us also to build up some really nice layers, some nice flaky layers with our dough. And I'm kind of trying to keep it where I'm not rolling it too much. And when I say roll it too much, I mean that I'm not trying to make it like super thin. And we want to keep it about a half an inch is what it's saying, up to an inch. Now I know from making scratch biscuits and what my mom and my aunties taught me is that you don't want to roll your biscuits too thin, because your biscuits won't rise as much. And on the box it shows these nice fluffy high biscuits, and I want my biscuits to look like that. And so I know I don't want to roll them too flat. And I'm not putting too much pressure on my rolling pin. If you put a lot of pressure on the rolling pin, what I have found is that it really compacts, it really packs down your dough. And so you want to be really gentle when you are rolling out your dough. So I'm going to move this to the side, and a quick correction is it's not a third of a cup that if you're doing the drop biscuits, it's 3 tablespoons worth of dough that you would do if you were going to do the drop biscuits versus the roll biscuits. I'm going to go ahead and cut the biscuits out, and when I cut them out, you want to go, anytime I cut them out, I've always learned to go straight down. Don't do the twisting. What happens is when you twist your biscuits, when you're cutting them out, you actually end up sealing the edges and they won't rise as nicely. So just go straight down and then just like hold it there for a second, pull up, and then go ahead and take your biscuits out from the dough. The box says 14 biscuits. We're going to end up with 13 biscuits is looking like here. And I think that that's pretty good. Now, these are about the size of a baseball, a little bit bigger than a baseball width. So I'm putting them in the oven at 425, and we're going to let those bake up. Now, while that's baking up, and it's going to be anywhere from 9 to 11 minutes, I went on and I set my timer, so I'm going to check them in just a little bit. So we're going to make our cinnamon butter. Now, the cinnamon butter, I'm using 1 stick of softened unsalted butter. To my softened unsalted butter, I put in 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and then I'm going to put in a half a teaspoon of vanilla. Now in the description box below, I will have the list of ingredients to make the cinnamon butter. This cinnamon butter is so good, y'all. It's going to go great on these biscuits. You can also use the cinnamon butter on waffles, scones, pancakes, toast. It's so good. And so next we're going to put some powdered sugar. Now the powdered sugar is going to be to your taste, and you can use anywhere from 2 tablespoons up to 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar, give or take a little bit. And that's again going to be depending on your taste. And sometimes I'll add a sprinkle more of the powdered sugar. And likewise with the cinnamon, 1 teaspoon is perfect. I like it at 1 teaspoon. But if you want a little bit more of a cinnamon punch, you can add also just a few more sprinkles. So this is what our cinnamon butter is looking like. Let's go ahead. I'm going to just give it a quick taste. I'm going to add a little bit more of powdered sugar, just a few sprinkles more, not even a full tablespoon, just a little bit. And just go ahead and again, with the cinnamon butter, you want to make sure that you blend it so you have no streaks of butter and also no powdered sugar showing. Everything is nice and blended together. Well, our biscuits are out of the oven. Mine actually baked up for 12 minutes, so just 1 minute longer than what was suggested on the box. I'm putting a little bit of softened butter on them. I'm going to go ahead and serve us up some. So this is our biscuits. I've also made some ham. We're having a simple breakfast this morning of just some biscuits and some ham, some cinnamon butter. I'm also going to brew up some coffee. So we'll have some coffee as well. The kids will probably have some juice. And so these are our biscuits that we have made. These Dolly Parton Duncan Hines biscuits. They look pretty good. They really have baked up nicely. They looking like some scratch biscuits, y'all. Wow, I can see some nice layers in there. Let's go ahead. You know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and try the biscuit without the butter on it. Oh wow, these biscuits, these are pretty good biscuits, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of this cinnamon butter on it and see. This is how they're looking. Let me try with the cinnamon butter. Mm-hmm. That cinnamon butter, y'all. You got to try that cinnamon butter. So this is the biscuit. Oh my goodness. Now I have to say, on the scale of 1 to 10, I would give these biscuits about an 8.5, close to a 9. They actually bake up pretty good, not to be straight from scratch. The texture is wonderful. The taste is good. I was so excited. I forgot to offer y'all some. Did y'all have a bite of biscuit and a bite of that ham? Because it is so good. And I would say, if you are not a scratch baker, this is a great way to get that scratch taste, because if you don't have baking powder in your home already and baking soda and all those different ingredients that you would need to bake from scratch, all you do here is just add the butter and the milk, and then you're set. Well, even my husband, he gives it a thumbs up. And the kids, they liked it as well. Well, those are my thoughts and my experience using this biscuit mix. Be sure to show this video some love, give it a thumbs up, click share, share with a friend or family. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.